Welcome to today's episode of B.A.Showoff, the Dance Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Becky.
And I'm Alexandra. And today, our guest has over 30 years experience in the dance team industry. And she currently serves as the Executive Director of the National Dance Coaches Association.
We're so happy to have the amazing Teri Rowe with us today.
Welcome, Teri.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this. We're excited to have you here today. So, I don't know if you've been watching any of our podcasts, but, we're having a great time with this and really trying to put out into the, to the dance community, like everything that's been going on with dance team and trying to give them as much information as possible. And we thought you were such a perfect person to, get this going early on. So I'm so glad that you were able to jump in with us.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Of course.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about you. What first drew you into this dance team world?
It was a world I could not escape. Going way back, I actually started out with a love for choreography before anything else. I mean, I'm talking, I was really young, and I used to watch shows that were on TV. They were kind of like precursors to like MTV Grind, but there were shows like Hullabaloo and Beach Action, and they would have the newest dances, kind of like TikTok, but live, and I would pick up all the new dances, and when I was really, really young. And then when I got into college, I started to get more serious about dance training, and they just opted to have a new dance major, but it was kind of halfway split between the physical education department and the dance department, and they were in a war with each other about where should dance lie. So you ended up having to do half your coursework in the PE department. You had to take folk, social, and square dance, jazz, hip hop, and then you had to go over to the dance department and take a full course load. I mean, we were talking 4 years of modern ballet, theater dance, and everything. And at the same time, I was still doing choreography for like our jazz group on campus in college. And I took on a job that was way over my head, was the school musical in the theater department with non-dancers, which was a learning experience. But I was, and so I was actually, at that point, I was in college still. And right when I graduated from college, there happened to be a gal in the dance department who stepped down, and I had been her grad assistant. So I stepped in and started teaching dance classes. And I was working with the group called Jazz Unlimited. It was a performing group. And then I started full-time coaching. I was probably 21 when I took on, and I was actually coaching at the college that I went to. I had the cheer team and the dance team. I always had one foot in cheerland and 1 foot in dance land for a while. And then I taught there this was when the aerobics craze started. And so I want you to visualize Jane Fonda in a French cut leotard with matching leg warmers. That was me. I did that all day long.
I loved her.
So I just want you to get that visual. But that was me for a long time. I was teaching regular dance classes, but then I was teaching a lot of aerobics and just pounded my legs into the next century. And then I decided to go back and get my master's. And at that point, I got really interested in dance science and dance medicine. And I went back and got my master's in exercise physiology. And I really wanted to go down that road of science and medicine for dancers. But everywhere I went, I would, move, and there would be a dance team coaching job or something associated with dance team that I would fall back into. So the whole time I was making all these changes in my life. And at that point I was getting engaged and getting married and then having kids. And I ended up at a private boarding school back in Tennessee. And that had just gone co-ed after 93 years and started a dance program there. And I had the dancers and the cheerleaders. Then I moved back to Washington State with my husband, started to work there. I was teaching at a college, and I was also teaching at a high school and teaching dance and coaching dance, and ran the dance programs there, and then started having babies, had babies, bam, bam, bam. And I thought we were done having babies after 2, opened up a dance studio, and shabam, got pregnant with Carsen. So I ended up, my last 2 kids were only 18 months apart. So I thought there's no way I can teach and coach and be a mom. So I ended up selling the studio right away. I had just opened it, and I just thought, I can't do this. There's just not enough of me to go around. So at that point, when you're having kids, I was trying to stay current in the dance team community. So I got really active at the high school level in Washington State. I was working with the Washington State Interscholastic Activities Association and helping them put on their state championship. I helped create their judging manual and started a training program for safety technical judging, and did a lot of kind of work that way, worked a lot with judges training. At that point, I was also judging a lot. And then don't ask me how I had time for this. I sound like a crazy lady because I had 16 things going on, but also started at that point, I taught for a while, then kind of my kids started to get a little bit older. And then I went back and started another studio, which was an all-star team that I started. And I started that with a recreational team that actually started with Carsen when she was 4. For people who don't know my daughter, Carsen with Tribe 99 choreography, that's my daughter, and put a pair of palms in her hands and grabbed a bunch of little neighborhood girls and put them in a parade. And within a year, I had like 90 kids in that recreation program. It was a little dance program. And at the same time, I was still teaching and coaching at different places and still judging and still choreographing. And then Carsen got a little bit older, started to bring her on choreography jobs. And then pretty soon, by the time she was 15, 16, 17, she was ready to go out on choreography jobs on her own. And I started to pull back from choreography. And then when she got to be 20, 21 and her choreography was so prolific, I couldn't judge anymore because no matter where I went, I would run into her teams and her choreography. So she effectively killed my career in that aspect. But, so then I shifted. When she graduated from high school, at that point, I had a son playing baseball. Carsen was going off to college to dance. And I kind of wanted to just be a mom and enjoy my own kids and their athletic experiences. And my oldest son was at Arizona State. So I sold my studio, quit coaching, quit judging, and just started mostly consulting at that point, and was able to start working with the University of Cincinnati as a consultant there, and then kind of branched out into other teams consulting at the college and high school level, and then got the wild idea to write a dance coaching book after I had retired after 35 years of coaching. I also coached middle school too. That was a whole nother challenge. It was a no-cut program, and my largest team was 99 kids. And
wow.
That was a herd that took the floor. Pardon me?
That's a big team.
A big team. I mean, that's a big difference from high school to middle school. I mean, we know.
Yeah.
Big team. And then Carrie Smith and I, who is the other executive director of the NDCA, we're going to write the book. So then we kept meeting in San Diego in different places, and the chapters kept getting bigger and the book binder kept getting bigger. And it was like, we have to do something more with this. Then at that time, there were some things going on in the dance team industry where we really felt like the dance team coaches needed to have a bigger voice, needed to have a better seat at the table of making decisions and controlling our own destiny, because we were the ones working with the kids on a day-to-day basis. We know the kids best. We know dance team best. So we started the NDCA to become that voice and to be that seat at the table. And that was 9 years ago. So there we are.
Oh, and you guys have done so much. You've done a lot with, NDCA since you guys started. I mean, it's grown so much. Tell us a little bit, there's coaches that don't even know how to get involved or how to become part of the association. Talk to us a little bit of how coaches can do that.
Well, it's really, really easy. You just go to nationaldancecoaches.org. That's our website. And it's very inexpensive. It's $50 to become a member for the year, and you get full voting membership benefits if you're a primary head coach. And if you're an assistant coach, you can be an associate member. Choreographers can join, judges can join, retirees can join. We love retirees because they can help us become volunteers. And so it's very, very easy. Go to the website, click on the membership tab, $50, become a member, and that gives you access to the resource archives with lots of education. We're doing monthly Zoom education series. We just finished one with acrobatic arts on teaching 540s. And so there's always some new current topic coming up in our education. We have newsletters. Of course, we have the conference. So there's a lot of bang for your buck. And the biggest thing about the NDCA is networking and community building, getting to know people and, meeting new people to help you do whatever it is, whether it's program development, choreography, whatever.
And I know that, me personally, one of the benefits for me has been the conference. I have absolutely loved going to the conference. I've been for 3 years, and every single year, the speakers are even better than the year before. The whole experience, the networking, I've told so many of my coach friends how big of a deal it is to be a part of the conference. So can you talk to us a little bit about the conference this year?
Yeah, we're super excited. We're on the home stretch. The clock is ticking for us. We're in Dallas, Texas, May 15th through 17th. It's not too late to register. You have till April 23rd is when the cutoff is. That's when the hotel block is going to close, and then the registration for the conference is going to close. We have over 30 hours of professional development, and of course, there's only one person, so you can't go to all 30 hours, but all 30 hours are available on our conference app for 90 days following the conference. So you still can partake in that education, and you've got 3 months to do it. So it's a perfect time to do it over summer, and you just access the app and go watch the classes and learn that way too. We try to balance the schedule for a beginning coach and for a highly prolific high school coach, a highly prolific college coach. If you're an all-star coach, a high school, a middle school, a college, it's for everybody at every level of wherever you are in your coaching career. If you're just starting out and it's your first year or it's your 5th year or 10th year, there's something for everyone. And we really also try to balance our curriculum over different academic areas. We have classes that deal with mental health, psychology, and sports psychology. We have classes that deal with dance medicine, dance science, kinesiology. We have technique classes that are movement-based classes. We've got some great people, Aaron Alvarado, Melissa McGee, Amanda Gaines. If you're in the dance world, you know those names really well. They're going to be teaching some really awesome classes. We've got Rob Miller from Proactive Coaching. He's going to be doing actually a 2-day workshop on program development and coaching. He's also teaching some additional classes on sportsmanship and teaching leadership and character within your dance program. We have we've got some high school presenters, some all-star presenters. We actually have Sarah Miller-Bate from USASF teaching a class on all things all-star and understanding the USASF score sheet. And if you're interested in how to start an all-star program in your community, she's going to be teaching on that. So it covers every base. It doesn't matter how old you are, young you are, or new to coaching. There's something for everyone.
I know a couple of years ago when I participated, I was able to do my judging certification and learn everything about judging competition. Are you still offering that, or do you have advice to coaches who do want to eventually get into judging? I know another part that I loved was that I understood a little bit more the judges' score sheet. So when I was taking my team, I understood a little bit more what the judges would be looking for, what I needed to work on. So what advice do you have for coaches who are looking to become a judge at some point?
We actually do. On Saturday, we have an additional space that's for our judges track only. So if you're thinking about getting into judging, it's a perfect place. We used to do on Thursday nights, we used to do some of our credentials, but we stopped doing that because it seemed like people wanted to get started on Thursday night and network and socialize. So we shifted that to a cocktail party, which is either totally academic or totally cocktail party. So to kick it off with a little more fun, but we do offer, one of the classes is one of the judging credential classes. We also have a class that Carrie Smith is teaching that is one of the modules from the coaching credential. So people can get kind of a little snippet of that. And then Kelly Schneider, who's teaching a couple of classes. She's teaching one on flexibility and one on strength and conditioning. And she is a physical therapist that was on tour with Dancing with the Stars. And she also has been part of our dance safety credential teaching modules there. So there's a little sampling of dance safety, of coaching, and then of the judging track. And then they are going to start teaching each year. They teach a whole training series, and they teach level 1, level 2, and level 3, and you can renew your judging credential, and that will start in I think I saw a thing on the calendar in October of 2025. Those judging classes are going to get started again. So anybody who's interested in judging, they can jump into those classes and just kind of sample. There's a class on hip hop and hip hop styles and what judges are looking for. There's a class on how to if you're a judge, how to do better verbal and audio critiques. And for a coach, it's how to get more out of that audio and verbal critique. And I believe there's a class on musicality that talks about it's designed for coaches and for judges. So there's a little sampling of everything, but it's a great place to start if anybody who's thinking about judging.
Absolutely. For me, it made such a difference. Even if I wouldn't have been judging, it made a big difference for me to understand, okay, my team, I'm taking them to competition. I know now, I understand what the judges want, what they're looking at, what this means. Because sometimes you read the score sheet and you think it's something, a certain way, but it really isn't. They're looking at something completely different. So for me, it was a great way to understand what I needed to do as a coach to make sure that my team was successful. So I loved the judges class. And I probably, when I go to the conference, I'll probably jump in on some of them just to reinforce myself, because you always need to continue adding to the knowledge no matter how many years you've done.
Absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
This was my first year, this last year, going to the coaches conference, and it was so eye-opening. And I think one of my favorite classes was the one that Carsen was teaching, and it was all about choreography and staging, things like that. And it really did just help push and elevate all my knowledge, all the things that maybe I was a little bit rusty on. And I know that there were so many classes that were like that. So it really is so helpful for anybody who's looking to really expand in their coaching career and, elevate their experience.
Yeah, and when I took her, she's young, so she's a young coach. And the networking she was able to do at a young age, made me think, wow, it would have been so great if when I was that age and when I first started out, that I would have been able to connect with these coaches that have been doing this for so much longer, that could help me and guide me, and that I could, contact if I needed something. Because when you're a young coach, you really need that support, and you don't have it that easily. So with the conference and getting to meet other coaches that are in the same field and doing the same thing you are, it's such a huge benefit, and there's nothing else like it. So I think that you've done an amazing job with it. And, I tell my friends, they need to, look into it. They need to participate. It's kind of hard because May is such a hard month, I think, for some of us, just because we're closing out. But it's you've got to find the time to do it. I plan my entire year. When you guys give out those dates, my year is planned around that so that I do not miss the conference.
Yes.
People, it's really funny because let me kind of go back to adding the judging piece into your coaching. I think that's really, really important. I think the fact that I was lucky enough to have choreography experience, judging experience, coaching and teaching experience really helped me get so much more well-rounded, and it helped me in every aspect. One piece helped the other piece, And now as I move on in my career and I'm consulting, I go in and consult with teams, and I see it through a judge's eye, through a choreographer's eye, and through a coach's eye. So each one of those pieces is really invaluable. And understanding your score sheet, anytime in any state, I would recommend that to any coach to go to their state judges training, to listen to what their judges are being taught, and then take that knowledge back into your teaching and coaching. And for the young coaches, whether you're a veteran coach or whether you're a young coach, again, there's something for everyone, but people don't always, younger coaches don't realize they come in hot. And I was the same way. I thought I knew everything. I was 21. I could do this and do that. And a lot of people come into coaching from dancing. They come right from a college dance experience or transition through their own personal dance experience, but they don't understand right off the bat. They learn pretty quickly. Coaching is a completely different set of skills. It is about management. It is about collaborating and working with administrators. It's about working with parents. It's about so many things. And I think that's where we do a really good job at the conference, is opening everyone's eyes, whether you're a veteran coach and you just need to get refreshed and get polished up on some of those new techniques that are out there, or just get your batteries recharged, or whether you're a brand new coach and you need to have the blinders pulled off to say, yeah, you might be the world's greatest dancer and come off of the world's greatest college team, but learning about coaching is a whole nother set of skills. And so I think it's a great balance of both. And there's just something for everyone.
Okay, so let me ask you. So now with the many years that you've been a part of coaching, of seeing dance team grow throughout the years, what do you feel like has really been like the pivotal point of dance team? Because it's so popular right now, and everybody knows about dance team now. I mean, it's done a lot of changes. Studios before weren't very accepting, and they didn't really like see dance team as real dance team. But now all that's changed. When do you think that actually happened?
Gosh, I've seen it happen. Well, it was really interesting because with having a daughter in dance, I got to kind of watch and be coaching. I got to watch it from different areas. Back in the day, exactly what you were saying, there was dance team, there was commercial dance, like I'm going to go to LA and be a dancer. There was academia, I'm in the dance department at college, and the three stayed in their silo, and almost there were places where they would look down on one another. In particular, dance team, you would have the dance department or the people in commercial dance going, ick, dance team, they're less than. Well, I think that social media has had a huge impact on showing the other silos of dance what we do, and other people, kids who are in studio saying, hey, I think I want to go on and be a college dancer instead of moving to LA, or maybe I want to go do this, then I want to move to LA. Or kids who are in on a dance team saying, hey, I think in order for me to get to point A, I need to go to LA in the summer and take some classes. I need to go to these trainings, and I need to get in a studio and take a technique class. So the barriers of those silos that shall not be passed and you shall not cross into our lane, those have gone by the wayside over probably about the last 10 years or so. Carsen graduated from high school in 2010, and at that point she went to college for one semester and then decided to move to LA and ended up getting an agent, and she was doing videos and some movies and television and stuff like that. Then she decided she wanted to go back and dance in college. So she made that jump a couple ways back and forth, which is great for people to have those opportunities. But I would say probably over the last 10 years, it's been huge. And the people who were only in the dance studio world, that run the big conventions, that do the things that stay in the studio world, they're now very interested in what's going on in the dance team world. They're very interested in, how do I get my kids in the studio to go on and have that college experience that they want. They want to be on a big campus, and they want to dance for a big team. And then maybe they want to go back into the commercial area and go on and dance professionally. Maybe some of them want to transition to a pro team like Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders or whomever. So it's really exciting that all those barriers have broken down. And now it's kind of been a trickle down, is the sharing of those dancers has become a little bit, there's a little bit of a turf issue going on, and we all have to, I actually think there's a class on that at the conference about sharing dancers, and because ultimately it's the dancer that we have to support. And when you're tug of warring over a dancer, and she's trying to please her studio coach, and she's trying to please her dance team coach, and she's getting ripped in half because she can't be two places at once. Plus, she's trying to get on a college dance team, so she's traveling to go to clinics. It is a tremendous juggle and a lot of stress that we're putting on kids. And so we're at the NDCA, we're actually looking for ways that we can navigate that a little bit better. And a group of our college coaches have recently put together some standardized recommendations for college recruiting. It's so that instead of having to do 15 different videos, you only have to do one video, and all these different coaches will accept the same video. And some time.
Oh, that's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that takes, you know how your kids have been, and all those videos always come due right when they're applying for college, right at that wacky midterm time when their brains are fried. And so we're really looking for solutions on how to support high school kids and making that transition to whatever part of dance that they want, and parents too. There's money issues, there's stress, just the stress and what's going on in those households with those kids. So we know there's a problem, we recognize there's a problem, and we've also got to educate not only our dance team coaches, but the studio people and about sharing and all-star people. It's kind of there's many prongs to that little star. There's, studio, there's all-star, there's dance team, there's college coaches, there's a whole bunch of prongs. But we all have to recognize that it's the dancers that are the most important in this. They're the most important element. So how do we make it better? And how, now that all those walls have broken down and we're all interchanging and we're sharing kids, how do we do it and do it in the best way possible for the high school students?
Yeah, we've talked about that before, and that, yes, the kids are number one, and that everybody needs to see that. So, sometimes we get lost in what we're doing and we don't realize the reason why we're doing it. And I think what a great idea. It's a Common App. Right. Common App was created for the kids when they're applying to colleges to kind of help them so they don't have to do all these applications. And that's an amazing way to help the kids in that. Let's take off all this stress of having to do 5-6 different videos and different, auditions to be able to, pick the schools that you want to be a part of. And who knows, maybe, when you apply, maybe another school will see you that you didn't even think about applying to. And, because they're a part of that, you automatically apply. Maybe that's the one that you get into. So, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And kudos. We've had now, there's so many studios that are now actually understanding that dance team helps the kids improve, which I think is why now the translation is really helping. So having that ability to expand all of that, allow the studios to be a part of it too, and giving them an opportunity to help them with that Common App application, I think is going to help with mend that territorial aspect that you were talking about of, having to choose between dance team and studio.
Yeah. And I was really lucky because I came from, again, I had such a hybrid experience that when I had my studio, I taught my kids always had palms in their hands from the time they were itty bitty. They had palms in their hands because I knew what was going to happen when they got to the college level, how much of it, the game day experience, being on a sideline, was centered around that palm technique. And I knew that it's not just about, jazz, tap, musical theater and those things, that there's other things outside that. So I made my kids have that whole hybrid experience. So they had that advantage. So you don't come out of college or out of high school never having touched a pair of palms and then try to go onto a college team. And it's like, well, what do I do these things, And it also makes the college coaches' life easier when they have kids that have that training. And kudos to our college coaches for recognizing that. They all got together and they said, hey, you know what? I require these skills on my video. And the next one said, I require these, but I have one skill that's different, and vice versa. They all found that they had 95% of the same skills, maybe one or two things that they could live without, but come to a common set of skills for that video to require. So it's going to be a great thing. We're actually launching that May 1st. So it's going to be a great thing for kids. And we really hope that college coaches will participate in that.
Yeah, I even remember I've helped some of my kids in doing those videos, and I remember some of them would have the exact same skills from one team to the other, but like one required a sequential video, another required allowed you to have it broken up. So it just became so much, and some of them required for it to be in order, others it didn't matter. So it just became so much more hectic. So if there's a way to actually have that all mended and make it easier for them, make it so that it's not, you need to spend 15 days in a studio for 3 hours a day doing all of these videos and recording them. That is really an amazing solution that you guys have all come up with, for sure.
Yeah, we're excited about it. And, our poor high school coaches are trying to help the kids. And so they're taking more time to go back and help do 15. They've got umpteen kids they're trying to do videos for. And so it was stretching our high school coaches thin. It was stretching everybody thin. And it's like, let's all get together and find ways that we can, collaborate. And that actually idea sort of came out of, we did a Future of Dance survey last year. And we asked questions and over 500 coaches from across the country took the survey. And we got a lot of information from it. But the three things that most people agreed on was we need more standardization in dance team, that we should look towards the future of having some sort of governing body that oversees, college and high school dance. All-Star has USASF, but, And then recruiting guidelines was the third thing that they all thought that there needed to be some sort of consensus on recruiting guidelines. So our college coaches got busy and tackled that recruiting guideline piece. And so that's all part of our external advocacy program. Within the NDCA, we have three kind of common goals. It's education, inspiration, and advocacy. And that's part of that advocacy piece. It's what can we do externally to have a bigger impact in the dance team world. So we're super excited about it. We hope that people jump on board and embrace it. And we hope to get good feedback on it. And how can we improve it and fine tune it as the years go on.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. We as coaches, the only time we would connect with other coaches was competition. And you guys have found the way to make them friends, because really at the end of the day, competition is a 2-minute thing. I mean, it's a weekend, whatever, but throughout the year, having those coach connections, and this is a perfect example that through the conference and going there, these coaches have, been able to communicate and been able to talk and network and not be in that competitive, environment. So, and something like this comes out because of that. So, so I think it's awesome. I'm excited to be a part of that and have my kids be a part of that and, get a feel of it when it's first starting out, because I think it's going to help everybody straight across the board.
Agreed. Yeah. And it is great to see these coaches who are fiercely competitive with one another come together as a committee and find so many things in common that they can do to better the whole dance team industry. And I'm just so thankful for all of them that contributed, and so proud of the work that they're doing. They're busy people too. They're really busy. A lot of them are spirit directors, and they have cheer and mascots and all kinds of craziness going on. And so for them to lend us their brains and their expertise, we are really, really happy about that. And what you said exactly, that's one of the reasons we talked about the NDCA and having a place where coaches could come together and not be in a competition. Like you'll see your competitors and you pass by, hey, how are you? Give them a big hug and you walk off and think, I hope he beat you today. Could you please lose so I can win? But you don't have time to sit down and have a cup of coffee and laugh about things and get caught up on family and realize that you all love the same thing. And you bleed dance team. Your life revolves around dance team. And it's so great to have a relaxed moment where everybody's laughing and having fun. And you don't have to worry about getting someplace and competing and you chasing kids around. And that's another reason that the conference is so wonderful. It's just a moment to unplug and just be with people who enjoy what you enjoy.
So I wanted to touch upon, you do a lot. Between the association and the conference, it's a lot, but you still find time to help, consulting. And I know that you talked a little bit about Carsen and Tribe 99, and, that's a huge undertaking that she's done there, and you're a big part of that. So can you tell us a little bit about what else you do there on the side? Because I know Alexandra used you for consulting purpose, and she absolutely loved it. And some people don't know that you actually still do that.
I still do it. I think my husband wishes I wouldn't, but no, I still do quite a bit of consulting, and I actually do it. What's interesting is I used to just sort of go on my own and book on my own, but now I actually officially work for Tribe 99 as a consultant, and I book through Tribe 99. So if anyone's wanting consulting work, that's where they go to. But I love consulting because it's you get to be part of the dance team world, and I get two parts of it. I get to help the teams, and I get to help the coaches. So I'm coaching the coaches as I'm going along too. So it keeps me really involved in the dance team world in a different aspect than the NDCA. But it's my chance to really have a little bit more hands-on with kids and get that coaching fix that I miss so much from really coaching. But I don't have to go and actually coach and have all the headaches of coaching. So it's the fun part.
Absolutely. And I think that the consulting is always so much more rewarding in the sense that it's a short amount of time and you make a huge difference to what the team actually puts on that stage, because you come in and you're there for a couple of days or a couple of hours, but it's huge what happens from the moment you start to when you finish with the work that you do. So I know that Alexandra loved having you come in.
Yeah, and for me, what was great was that I think we weren't able to schedule a time for her to actually come. So for us, we were able to do a virtual session, and it wasn't necessarily in a rehearsal, but it was just a one-on-one. So it was more of a conversation of, you know, you were able to watch my video and provide me feedback on things I can do, you know, tips and tricks on cleaning, ways to enhance certain moments, maybe even like spreading out a formation. And I feel like that's a big thing of what a lot of coaches need sometimes, because it's easy for us to sit back and allow you to just do all the work, but I think it provides coaches in the long run a way to now be smarter and more educated on the way they can do it moving forward, maybe for the next following year, to start that earlier. So having that one-on-one with the coach, I think, is almost just as helpful as you actually going in and doing it for them and going in and being one with the kids. Because it really was like a one-on-one training with me.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I do like those virtual sessions almost better, because I have a chance, before I go in, I like to look at score sheets. I like to listen to any judges' audios, because from that, because of my experience with judging, I can sort of glean. I don't get hung up on, oh, we don't like this, or, oh, you don't have enough tricks, or whatever. What I do is I look for commonalities, and I look for things in the overview of what judges are telling you in general, like your middle is bogging down, or you're not connecting the dots, or the communication isn't there. So I'm looking for ways to help the coach understand a little bit more about what the judges have been telling you, and you can't figure it out, and you're trying all these different things, but you can't seem to make a headway. So I like it for that reason. And I love going in person, because then I get to work hands-on with the kids. Sometimes it's a little harder with the kids, because it's a lot crammed in, and it's somebody coming in and telling you all the problems in your routine, and it's hard sometimes for kids to hear it. So I just have to preface it and say, listen, we're coming in. Our goal is to make you better. We want you to win. It's not a personal attack. It's how can we make this routine better? How can we make you better? So it's preparing the kids for that session as well, I think, is really important. But consulting is great. And I think there's more and more people out there that are consulting and doing more work in that. And if you can't afford to, or you don't have the time to bring somebody in, you folks are in Miami. I live in northern Idaho. You can't get much further unless I move to Alaska. But to have a virtual session, and I do like the teaching and coaching part of coaching the coaches. I'm like, look at this. And in our session, how many times did I say depth? And just learning about depth in choreography makes a ton of difference. And so it's helping the coach get better too. So that's the fun part about it for me. I get my coaching fix without actually having to be a coach. So.
No, and you nailed it when you said, I mean, some coaches or some teams can't afford, to fly somebody in. The video is a great option. It's, it's economical and it makes a huge difference. And really, I mean, it's something that we're all a part of now, like watching videos, learning from the videos that you're able to have that communication. You might not be in person, but you're still able to have that communication and talk to the team and talk to the coach about what could be better. So I think that, I highly recommend it to people if they could do it, bring you in and, have you come and give the feedback. And if you can't fly you in, then, video is great. It's a great option and it really does help.
It really does. And it can make a lot of impact in a short period of time. And it just also too, so if coaches are thinking about doing that, kind of plan ahead and make sure you get good videos and you don't get those videos that are like at a weird angle or up too close. They need to be back and up a little bit so that the consultant can really see what's going on and get a judge's bird's eye view of your routine, so they can see what's happening in the back. And so it's nice to, as I would recommend that for any coach, take videos from different aspects of your routine, and also for you as a coach to watch those. So often I find dance coaches, this is a big mistake, and I'm gonna give you this tip for everybody. I see dance coaches take tons of videos and then they dump them in a Google folder or on a band app, and then tell the kids to go in and look at it and blah, 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 blah. That's great. That's great. And that's good for personal assessment. I can look at that video and say, I'm not making that transition, or I'm leaving early. There's a lot of self-assessment that can go on that way with the use of video, but you've got to take it a step further and really do that tedious video breakdown like I did with you in that virtual experience. I mean, I broke down every little nugget of every little transition and looked at people's feet and looked at when they transitioned, did they stop their feet from shuffling? And So really for coaches, that's the best piece of advice I would say is become more like a football coach does when they have game film breakdown on Sunday afternoon after the game. You as a coach need to be doing that and really using that video tool. Plus the fact that kids now are more apt to learn better from video than they are from you standing there telling them the same thing 10 times over. Pretty soon you're like their mom, clean your room, do the dishes, clean your room. And they're going, wah, 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 I don't hear you and I don't care. But if you show them a video and you say, look at this, what do you see? Do you see this, that you haven't corrected that? They learn so much better. So that's the best tip I would give coaches is use video, yes, but really use video and do a great job. Become a video breakdown expert. And video from different aspects. Don't always stand 3 feet right smack in front of your kids and videotape.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. It really is. And I think the longer you coach, you kind of get stuck in what you're used to doing. And it's hard to like step out of your little bubble of what you always do and do something different. And you just like, you're tired, you're just going through the motions. So that's great advice because that's what we need to do as coaches. And we need to find different ways to better what we do and change it up a little bit because, at the same time, we want to be better for our teams and we want to be better for our kids. And every team is different. So you've got to learn how to coach each team differently. So
and coach from different places. Yeah. Well, and another piece of advice I would give people is coach from different spots. When you coach, it depends on where you are, in a gym, in a studio. Traditionally, you're in front of them and you're not very far away from them and you're coaching them from there. So where are they looking when they're learning to perform? They're looking where you were standing. So then you have to go back and teach them to get their projection back up because they've been looking at you and listening to you. So all of their communication and projection is going this way. And traditionally judges are up. And so now you're like, look up, keep your eyes up. And you're saying the same thing. So if you're a coach, move around, get up in a bleacher if you can. When I was coaching in my studio, we had a all-star size floor, but it came right up to the mirror. And so I ended up having my friend build me like a lifeguard chair that was really tall so I could get up and coach from above them and look down. And of course I had a hole for my coffee and I had a slot for my remote control, but I coached from this lifeguard chair. And Carl Munt is, those of you that know Carl, just an outstanding incredible person in the dance team world who, by the way, is getting inducted into the NDCA Hall of Fame this year. We're super excited about that. But Carl always likes to coach and consult from the back. And he looks at things from a back view. So I really would challenge coaches to try new things. Coach from the corner one day, get up in the bleachers, coach from the back. You see different things that you didn't see before. From a different aspect.
Yeah, that's so true. And not just that, but your kids get used to looking right at you. So you're right. And if you're not right in front of them, they're going to get used to dancing, looking at something else. They look right at you when they're dancing. I mean, whether there's a mirror or not, they find you.
Yes,
they do.
When I record, I normally record from the back so that they don't even see me. It's just that they have to project. They have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And so mix it up, change it up. Don't get stuck right smack in front because again, you're training your kids to look right there and it pulls their chin down, which also is going to impact their technique when they're trying to be lifted and pulled up and have that presentation up, but they're looking at you. So they're kind of pulled down and in. So move around, get someplace new and coach from someplace new and use different techniques. And that's another thing too, is I would tell coaches is there's a lot of technology that's out there. There's choreography apps to move formations around. So when you're trying to put together pep assembly routines and PR performances and things, and you just want some quick little ditties, there's lots of technology to help you do things. When you're worried about breaking down skills, there's, an app called OnForm, and there's another one, Coach's Eye is another one that actually lets you do super slow motion and draw arrows and do all kinds of things so you can work on individual skill. The kid who cannot hit the aerial, the kid who cannot hit multiple turns and then wrap it into a pirouette and finish the turn. What's going on? Again, videotaping them. I see coaches videotaping it, but they always videotape them from the front. Well, on a lot of those skills, you need to get to the side and videotape them in slow motion so you can see their support legs, see where their hips are, see where their torso is. So again, using that video, but not always from the front. Get to a different angle. If it's a lift, I always videotape from really weird angles on a lift so I can see what everybody's doing underneath the lift so I can tell why the lift isn't working. So move around and use that video from different angles if you're working individual skills or lifts or whatever.
So with all your years of experience and, watching dance team go through its different evolutions and, from beginning to where it is now, where do you see the future of dance team?
Honestly, where I see it is probably an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say it. And I can say this because I started coaching in 1981, which was 200 years ago. Not a lot of our destiny as a sport/activity has changed. And the biggest reason is because of lack of standardization, lack of a governing body, those types of things. Just because, okay, so I'll give you a comparison. Basketball, high school basketball is the same in Florida as it is in Alaska. Same size floor, same rules, same everything. Dance team is different in every single state, every single region. We don't use the same language. We don't compete the same. We have different categories. And we don't speak athletic director language because of that. They don't understand. How do you qualify to go to nationals? The way we do things, they don't understand. So we're kind of a square peg in a round hole. And I'm not saying that we have to become a round hole. I think I like the fact that we're a square peg and we're kind of unique, but we have to find ways to fit in a little bit better. And what that means is that's going to mean change. And we all know we don't like to change. Dance people don't like to change.
No.
I've coached this way for 1,000 years and I've always done it this way and I'm not changing. And we always compete in these categories but within your own state, and as long as Becky, as long as you've been coaching, how many times have rules changed and you didn't like them, but you adapted to them?
Yep.
And your life did not cease to exist and your team did not cease to be your team and you did not cease to win because a rule changed. You learned how to adapt, and it's all about adaptation and flexibility. If we don't figure out a way to become more standardized, and I'm not worried about the governing body, I'm not worried about, the recruiting guidelines, those things come with it. But when just standardization is a huge deal. With it at the high school level, the National Federation of High School Sports and Associations, it's the governing body of all the sports activities association in every state. Okay, they gather participation statistics for sports to say, how many basketball players do you have in your state? How many football players do you have? How many volleyball players do you have? Well, for dance team, they gather statistics from all the states, but they let states say, well, we do drill team. Well, we do POMs. We're called POMs in Colorado or wherever. We're called song leaders in California. And so their statistics for what we would call dance team is spread out. If you look at their statistics, you'd be shocked because according to their statistics, there's not a single dance team in the state of Minnesota. There's not a single dance team in the state of Utah. There's kick teams in Minnesota and there's dance drill teams in Utah. But because they allow it under different terminology, we don't come together as a cohesive body to say, this many kids participate in dance team. There's this many dance teams across the nation. We're spread out over jazz, kick, POMs, drill, dance drill, over everything. So one of the things we're going to be pushing for is for everybody to, can we all agree that what we do, our activity is called dance team? That does not mean you have to change your name, and you could be called song leaders in California, POMs in Colorado, dance drill in the state of Washington. You can be called whatever you want to be called within your state, but the activity that we participate in is dance team. So that's one of the things that we're going to be trying to just ask for. Can we name our sport a common name? Can we all accept that? And you watch, there'll be people who get their feathers in a ruffle over that and say,
You would think it would be easy. That would be a simple solution and like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's all do that. But
Never.
no.
Yeah, but I think I'm a firm believer in that is absolutely step one, that we have to get ourselves organized to say, this is who we are. This is what we do. Now, under dance team is jazz, pom, hip hop, drill, military, team performance, blah, 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 blah. There's all those things, but our sport is this. For example, like synchronized swimming changed their sport name to artistic swimming. Rhythmic gymnastics changed theirs to artistic gymnastics, but that's what they call their sport. And everybody accepts it and everybody agrees that's what it is. So if we have got to figure out a way before I die that we can call ourselves dance team. And I think that that is step one in the road to standardization. Now, if I had a magic wand and I could make my wishes come true, I would have us standardize ourselves, where we would have, this is what a dance floor, this is how big a dance floor is. This is what it's made of. Marley on top of a gym floor, whatever, I don't care. This is how long a dance routine is. You know, at one point when I first started coaching, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of, you know, we're so close together that people would go over state lines. At one point in the state of Oregon, routines were 7 minutes long.
Wow.
And they were scored on a 300-point scale. Do you know what that was like, trying to judge 300?
No, that's crazy.
For
sounds
7
intense.
minutes. Yeah. So that's the one thing. Thank God routines have gotten shorter. Back in the day, you know, and I'm telling you, when we started to change things in the state of Washington, and we had 4-minute routines, and then it was 3-minute routines, and it was like, oh my God, you would have thought, Chicken Little, the sky's falling. We just can't dance if we can't dance for 4 minutes. And you know, then we started showing studies about how your muscle depletes, you know, your muscle glycogen depletes after so long, and your routine scores go down after 2 minutes, they start going down, you know. And so there's science behind things that will make our sport better. And we also have to embrace our dance medicine and dance science people to say, how many kicks is too many kicks that might cause hip injuries? How many, you know, how long should this be? You know, how long is the time from when you warm up to when you compete? How wide should that time frame be? Is it okay to warm up and then wait a half an hour or almost an hour before you compete? Are you going to get hurt? So there's a lot of dance medicine and science things that need to kind of come into play too. But all I'm asking for is, can we call ourselves dance team? And that means we can still have our unique state identities and our regional identities, but can we just make that change? And then so that we start to become a little bit less of a square peg to our athletic directors and to the athletic community. One of the other things that came out, one of the other things that came out of that Future of Dance survey, one of the biggest things that high school and college and all-star coaches were concerned about was being recognized within their community as athletes. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean to say that dance team has to be a sport, but we as our bodies, these specimens would like to be, we would like to understand that dance is an athletic activity. It's where artistic qualities meet athleticism. You know, artistry and athleticism come together, and dancers want to be recognized as athletes. They really do. Yeah. They're not saying that the dance team has to be a sport. I don't think we can. A lot of people don't agree on that, because there's things that go into being a sport that you have to give up. You have to have a defined season, and you have to have defined competitions, and you have to jump through all these hoops. But I think that if we could find ways to unify us under the dance team umbrella so that we can all agree upon that, and then look for ways as we move along to get credibility for our sport and for our athletes, so that they also, in the long run, coaches' salaries go up. You get better facility use. And this is the thing that I have not seen change. And unless we make changes ourselves, and it has to come from all of us within the dance team community. If we're not going to change, then we're not going to change. Coaching salaries are still going to be poor. and they're not going to measure up to other coaches. We're going to be the bottom of the rung, the bottom of the totem pole for facility use. You're going to get booted out of the gym because the softball team has to throw balls because it's raining outside, and you're preparing for state, and you just got booted out of the gym. And there's just so many ways like that you all have seen it where they have senior night, but they don't recognize the dance seniors. You've seen that in different communities. Thank goodness you belong in a program that you're supported, and but there's a lot that aren't. LSU, their cheer and dance team went viral not too long ago because they were performing at a PR event, and they'd been there all day with all the other athletes, but they put out a food table, and the sign said cheerleaders and dancers not included, can't eat. And so, look that one up. And they've been there the same time. It was all the other athletes were involved in it. It was an all sport shenanigans. I don't know what it was, but they had been there the same time that all the other athletes had been there. But when it came time to the school providing breakfast, here's this big spread. Imagine how these kids felt going up to that table and seeing a sign that says cheerleaders and dancers not allowed. And that's the stuff that's still going on today. And I think it's going to continue happening, and coaches' salaries are going to continue to be low, and we're going to be the bottom dwellers of the facility use until we make some changes ourselves. But it needs to be controlled within the dance coaching community.
So what advice do you give to coaches to try to, voice themselves and put themselves out there to make this happen?
They need to be gathering statistics, and they can use, for example, we do studies. We do surveys every 2 years, and they need to use those statistics because we ask people, how much do you make? What is your season considered? Are you all year round? Are you this? Do you have facility use? If it's college programs, we ask, what's your coaching salary? What are you expected to do? Are you the spirit coordinator? Are you the dance team coach? How many hours per week additional are you putting in on PR performances? So you need those statistics to back you up to say, hey, look, this was a national survey that was done, and look where I'm at. I'm in the bottom. I'm a bottom dweller. I don't make as much as anybody. Everybody in the country is making more than I am. And look, everybody in the country has a place to practice except for me. And we've got to keep doing those surveys and keep gathering data and sharing data. College or high school coaches could get together with the people in their area, in their state, in their district, and make sure that all their salaries are commensurate, to make sure that their facility use is the same. There's little steps that they can do within their own community. And then they need to go to their state level, and then they need to go to, the next levels. But they can take advantage of, and we've had a lot of coaches have said, I need to show my athletic director that I am at the bottom of the pay scale. What do you have for me? And they can look at our studies and show graphs and to show, and again, ours is a small sample, but it's pretty indicative of what's going on across the country, Yeah,
I think that we do need to communicate, and we do need to be a little bit more vocal about what we're lacking, because we are lacking a lot, and we do so much with the little that we have. And, every coach wouldn't be able to do that for all these different sports. They would be complaining, or they wouldn't be able to get as far as what we do. But we just, we adjust. We learn to just do it because we know we have no choice. And so, we do it for the kids, and we just move along.
And I would also recommend to all coaches, do you know that in the entire United States, we have an outreach program where we target state high school associations. There's out of the, entire United States, there are only about 17 to 20 states that actually have an active state dance coaches association. For example, the Washington State Dance Drill Team Coaches Association, the Utah State, blah, 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 whatever. So that's only like one part of the 50 states, right? Like maybe 20 states have it. Usually it rolls in about 17, 18 states have what I would call an active, really good coaches association, where they come together once a year, much like the NDCA, but it's just in their state, and they have a conference, and they do education, and they have a voice in their state that can go to their state activities association to say, hey, we think dance teams should not be 7 minutes long. We think dance teams should be 4 minutes long, whatever rule it is. And it's building those relationships with those athletic directors and those administrators to say, we know our sport, our activity best, and we know what's best for our kids. And these are the recommendations we'd like to make for our state. So that's the place you start, is at that grassroots level. If your state does not have a coaches association, get your buddies together and form one. And just start the ball rolling and work towards building that relationship with your state activities association. Washington State's a great example of that. Minnesota's a great example. Wisconsin, Oregon is a good example. In the state of Washington, they actually had the state coaches association in place before the activities association took dance drill over under their umbrella. So it was already in place. And so they naturally looked to the dance coaches as the experts. They look to the dance coaches to say, what rules do you want to change? What do you think is in the best interest of your dance athletes? And so that's where you really want to get that relationship built, is with those administrators and athletic directors to say, we're the experts. We teach these kids. We train these kids. We work with these kids. And we know what's good for them and we know what's bad for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me go off a little bit here. So I know that, we've already talked about Carsen and what she's done with Tribe, and, you've watched her progress throughout the years. How do you think Tribe is also affecting the dance team world?
I think that I am so very proud of her. From the time she was 4 and we stuck those palms in her hand and she's like, Mommy, I want to perform, to where she is now. She started that company when she was in her early 20s. And she was still going to school. I think a lot of people don't realize about Carsen is that she has a bachelor's in a double major in psychology and criminal justice, and she has her master's in criminal justice. Oh, wow. And she actually did an internship with the FBI, and she's people don't realize that she was on a totally other tangent.
Different path. Wow.
Yeah, but she kept going back to dance, much like I did, but her pathway went into different things.
I think that's all of our paths, exactly what we
have. Yes. It's like, here I go back to dance again, and she when she was 21, 22, I can't remember how old she was exactly, but maybe 22 to 24-ish, early 30s or early 20s, sorry, excuse me. She said, I have this vision and I want to do blah, blah, blah. And at that point, Tribe 99, she wanted to start the choreography business part of it, which is basically her and a couple other people who did choreography. And she said, how do I start? And I said, well, it's pretty easy. You go pay $50, you get a business license, you go pay $200, you get an LLC. The guy who was running was my bookkeeper and my accountant at my studio helped her kind of learn along the way to learn business. Now, she wasn't a business major. My 2 boys were both business majors, and so she would bounce ideas off of them a lot too. But she always, the one thing that I think has been magical about her is her sense, her understanding, because she lived in the dance team world. She grew up in the dance team world. So she really, really understands what coaches need, what dancers need. And she's been able to stay one step ahead of the game in creating new branches off of Tribe 99. She started the Combine. It was the first one of its kind. She started the tour, summer training. I used to take Carsen and dancers because where we lived is down in where they grew up was down in the southeast corner of Washington. So it's like rolling hills and tumbleweeds, and there's nothing else there. And so I would always have to bring people in for master classes, or in the summer, I would take everybody to LA. And the stipulation was you had to take 32 hours of dance, and we would literally shuttle kids between the Millennium Studio. At that point, it was Debbie Reynolds. The Edge was open. Those have all gone by the wayside. But we would immerse them in dance in the summer for training experiences. And so she saw how much her dance would grow over every summer of doing those intensives and those workshops. And she also did conventions, and so she, again, had such a diverse experience of dance. And so she was able to apply that to her business. And I think that she has just done an outstanding job of being a great role model for young people about how you can take dance and go if you're done dancing, maybe you're done dancing, but you can judge, but you can consult, you can choreograph, you can become a dance science major and go into kinesiology, and you can become a physical therapist and train dancers. And there's so many aspects of dance that you can start a business on. There's a lot of people now starting mental health counseling where they work with dance teams. Dance team is their specialty. So there's a lot. And I just think that with the Combine, with her tour, with her Choreo Connect, the service that they're providing where they're matching people, it's like a dating game, they match the choreographer with the coach and with the program to get the best match. Because a lot of times coaches have a different understanding of where their team is. And I want so-and-so to choreograph. I want, Paris Goebel to choreograph my hip hop routine. Well, that's never going to happen. Sorry. So let's bring down your expectations to a reasonable expectation. And so really proud of her. I'm proud of all the kids that she works with. I think that she has been, I don't have her tribe shirt on, but she has a tribe shirt that says changing the dance team industry. And that really encapsulates what tribe has been. And it's worked out really well for us to have our event, our conference event, and then the Tribe Combine butts up against us so coaches can come in and kind of get more bang for their buck, and they can come in and get themselves educated, then they can go recruit. And so I think that's been a super successful model that, she created.
Definitely. And like for me, my kids go to the tribe, so I go to the conference and then I could go see them, through their experience and be a part of that, because, it's not easy for coaches to be able to be there for their kids when it comes to things like that. So I think that, that has also been a big game changer in the dance team world.
I think so too. And one of the things that she is, I think as talented as she is as a dancer and a choreographer, she's incredibly gifted in those areas. She is an incredibly gifted teacher. And one of the things that she's been doing is she's been teaching choreographers how to choreograph. And I think that that's been one of the most, exciting things, as she doesn't just hire choreographers. And it's not like, oh, here's my basket of choreographers that we send out on jobs. She is training them and she is teaching them and she is mentoring them. She looks at their choreography and talks to them. Well, what were you thinking here? And what were you visioning here? And she teaches them about the score sheet. So she's not just booking choreographers. And I think there's other people out there doing that, but they're not doing what she's doing. She is really mentoring those choreographers, those young people, which we have to do in our industry. Right now, there is we have like there's hardly any pom choreographers. Like there's not a ton. There seems to be a lot more hip hop and a lot more pom and a lot more like contemporary and things like that. But it's pom that's where we have problems, because granted, a lot of kids don't even touch a pom till high school, and they've been in jazz since they were 3 years old. So we have to mentor young people. It's like building leaders, and it's like building your coaching staff. You have to mentor people along. They don't just pop out of the womb and say, here I am, a nationally renowned choreographer. They learned along the way. Now, Carsen had an advantage because I was taking her on jobs with me when she was 14 and 15. And I was having her demonstrate and having her teach sequences. And then I started to book her out on jobs, and I would go with her and I would work on patterning and I would work on a little bit of the staging with her. And then she got to be about 17 or 18 and she said, I don't want you to come anymore because I don't need you. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've been banished. And she didn't need me. She didn't need that, but she got mentored through that process. And so she's giving that gift back, which I love seeing. She's teaching young people how to get better at choreography.
Yeah, paying it forward.
Yeah, and I mean, we're obviously big advocates for mother-daughter anything. So it's inspiring to watch you two, how she's been able to learn from you, and what you guys have been able to create together. What's been maybe like your proudest moment with her through this whole Tribe 99 experience?
Just again, her ability to, yes, she's running a business and we're all about business and we get that, but she's running parent classes on what to expect in the recruiting game and how to help the parents, facilitate the parents through. She is taking those 250, 300 kids who are coming into the combine and talking to them. She's training them as well about how to look a coach in the eye and ask a coherent question and research their website and do this, all these steps, so that she's helping these young people get better at the whole recruiting process and have to open up more doors for them at more colleges. And then with her choreographers, she's mentoring and training them. So it's just to watch her work with so many groups of people, parents, dancers, coaches, choreographers, and make such an impact with them and do such a great job in paying it forward and helping the whole dance team industry get better. It's not like she's just working with one component. I work with coaches. She's working with parents, kids, coaches, choreographers across the board. And I love the way she stays so current. And she also takes time out of the Tribe choreography weekend to honor our niece, Lindsay Bennett, who was a former dancer at UNLV, and she was killed by a drunk driver coming home from dance team practice when she was 19. And she takes time out of that weekend to award a $2,500 scholarship to a dancer who represents and embodies. Lindsay always stood for follow your bliss and find what makes you happy. And that's the prompt on the scholarship application. So she finds a way to even still keep her family, show what's important to her. She really values family, and that's her way also of showing that and recognizing and honoring Lindsay's memory. So many ways. So proud.
She was a very, very big part of talking to my kids about the college experience, about college dance teams. You know, my kids were very sheltered in Miami, and leaving to go away to college somewhere else was not something that any of them really wanted to do. And bringing Carsen in, talking about it, and them actually seeing, look at all these amazing dancers and choreographers and coaches who did go to college for dance team and did participate, and what a great experience they had. And so it opened their eyes. And now I have so many kids who are interested. So I'm very grateful for Carsen. I've told you that before, that she did help get my kids involved into the college dance team world and wanting to be a part of it. And I think that was something that she didn't even realize that she was doing. Just by talking about her passion and her experiences, she got my kids to say, wow, I want to be a part of that as well. So I'm very grateful for her and for Tribe 99, definitely.
And her path was not a straight path. She didn't go from high school to college to her path was full of ziggy zaggies, but she had to make decisions, like when she was 19 and said, I want to move to LA. And my husband and I are looking at each other going, okay, well, we thought college was the route we were taking and we were paying for, but she took that little jig, ziggy zag zig, and everybody's not on a straight pathway. No. And not one school is right for other people. Some people want to stay home. Some people want to go away to college. And it's just about learning about, and I think that's one thing that Tribe does really, really well, is to say, you got to sit down and realize, who are you and what is important to you? What are you going to major in? I just talked to a kid who went to a school, wanted to dance, got into the college, and then realized that she wanted to be a pharmacist, but they didn't have a pharmacy program. I'm like, did you not think about that before? I mean, yeah. But it's preparing yourself to have as many doors open as possible. And I think that's something that they do a really good job of. And like I said before, it's not always a straight path. And sometimes I'm going to go do this, and then it doesn't work out, but it's not too late for you to go over here and do this. So and that's
I think it's definitely a reflection of, of you and what you taught her, that she's been able to, pass that on to other generations. And, I know that we're both grateful for the conference and for the association in helping us and keeping us, networking with other coaches and making those friendships and making those connections. And it in turn helps our kids. And I think that Tribe has been a big part of that as well. And again, it comes from what you've done with your daughter and everything that you showed her. And so she's able to help everybody else. So we're appreciative of that.
Thank you. We appreciate it too. We love working with all the teams. We get such a great experience. We get to work with the most fun people, the most energetic kids. Dancers are the best of the best. They're awesome. They want to be great and they want to work, and they have so many amazing qualities. And so it's fun. We get to work with people who are passionate about dance and kids who like to work hard, and that's fun. It's fun for us.
And dancers, because they're in a competitive field, they're competitive. So meaning that
Yeah.
they're always trying to be better. And so they're, for the most part, they take criticism and they're like, okay, well, I need to be better because of this. They don't, look at them like, oh, they don't like me, or, I don't want to do anymore. I don't want to. You're competitive. So okay, well, I need to work harder. I need to do more. And so it makes it easier as a coach when you have kids like that they just want to please and they want to be better. I mean, they understand if you want to win, you got to do things that, you outside of what you normally would want to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it is perseverance. A lot of, one thing that I think was learned, you're going to hit stumbling blocks and you're going to hit hurdles, and things are going to happen around you, whether it's in your personal life, your business life, and it's how you face those challenges and getting up and over those hurdles that make you successful in life, is just persevering and facing challenges and just keep going forward. We always joke about it. There'll be something and it'll be solution-based thinking. What's your solution-based thinking? What's the solution? I can do this, this, or this. Instead of just complaining about something, what's the solution? Find the solution.
Yeah. Well, Teri, thank you so much for joining us and talking about your passion and sharing your journey and being with us here today. We're so grateful and appreciative of everything that you've done. And we're looking forward to seeing you soon in person and talking a little bit more. And hopefully we can get Carsen on here soon as well, so she can give us more about Tribe and Choreo Connect and everything that she's been doing, because she's been amazing as well.
She's got lots to share. To share. Hopefully no stories about me. No bad ones anyway.
I'm sure all good ones.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of B.A.Showoff with guest Teri Rowe. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube. And if you have any questions or feedback, make sure to click on our link tree and fill out our Google form.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.